I'm using Spellbinders and Nicole Spore's felt dies to create this cute autumn pillow. Hey everyone, it's Joy here. Welcome to my channel. All right, so quickly I have sewn together a couple pieces of fabric. We've got this fun mustard colored fabric and then this blue striped fabric. I love blue and oranges and yellows together. I think they're so pretty. And then I have my sunflowers from the Felt Sunflower Bloom Dies from Spellbinders, and this is Nicole Spore's collection. And I'm going to be sewing these onto my fabric because we are going to be creating a pillow today. I'm going to be hand stitching on my images, and the lines that I've drawn on my fabric are for my visual, so I don't go past that with my images because that's about the size of pillow that I want to make. And so let me just say, this is not a pillow tutorial because I have no business telling people how to make a pillow, because this is my very first pillow that I've made, that I've sewn from scratch, and yeah, I'm not someone that knows how to sew, but I will have to say I was super intimidated, but it was a huge success. I am absolutely hooked. I'm so excited, and I definitely wanted to share this with you. So let's get going on stitching our leaves on. I've already done obviously 2 of the sunflowers. The felt that I am using, I think all of it was Tailored Expressions. So the green is moss, the lighter sunflower, the more bright sunflower is butter for the leaves, and then latte for the center. And for the darker one that I'm actually going to be adhering right now, and I have the other one sewn down, is butterscotch for the leaves and then chocolate chip for the center. So really cute, super simple. I'm doing a running stitch, I believe. Now, I know there's probably a lot of you ladies and who make cards who also sew. So if you have tips, tricks, whatever, please leave that down below, because again, I am so super new at this. Like, sewing machines absolutely have terrified me. It's some sort of mental block in my brain that they just seem so complicated, but I was able to make this. So I've been watching Primrose Cottage, their YouTube channel on how to make pillows, and this fabric is from their shop. I did not get the names of the fabric when I was there, so I'm going to see if I can look on their website to see if I can find it. That might be a task. So I'm actually going to be heading there today to pick up another order. They are only 45 minutes from my house, you guys. I just found this out last week, and today will be the 3rd time I've been there. So anyways, because I'm doing cross stitching too, and it's such a cute shop, and I love it. I found them, I believe, through Nicole Spore, watching some of her floss tube stuff. And I've had their newsletter forever, and I just found out that they were in St. George, Utah. So I just was so excited about that. So anyways, I'm stitching my leaf, and I'm going to do another one, but off camera, doing the running stitch, going down the one hole, coming back up the one hole down, and then I'm coming back to fill in the gaps. So I'm pretty sure that's a running stitch, and if I'm wrong, please let me know, but be nice about it because I am new. So getting this all done, and then I'm going to show putting on the sunflower. Now, these are darling felt dies, and if you're a paper crafter like I am, you could also die cut these out of paper and stitch them on a card. You could also continue to die cut them out of felt and then also put that on a card, and that would be really, really cute too. So I do have more pillows, felt stitching pillows in my plans coming here shortly with some of these dies. I also have the felt cheeky apple die, and we're going to be using some pieces from that. Okay, so I have my sunflower layered here. We have the larger back piece, the smaller petals, the larger back petals, the smaller petals, and then we have our center. I'm roughly lining up the holes. I'm only concerned about the holes on the top if I get into them, because I'm also using a sharp needle because we're going through all of this felt and the fabric. So again, I cannot do a running stitch here. Well, I mean, I guess it is a running stitch, but just you're going up and down and up and down and up and down. So this one took a tad bit longer to sew, but really this was quite relaxing. I really enjoyed it. I love felt stitching. I think that is so fun. And then to be able to put it on fabric was like, let's just do it. It's terrifying joy, but let's just do it. And it was a success. I'm so happy about this. So anyways, I'm going to go up and down each one of the holes, and then I'm going to go back around to fill in the holes that I did not, that you kind of skip. But I think these sunflowers are so cute. This is a longer video. Please hang out to the end because we add some fun details to this. For me, I had to think about it like a card layout when I was designing how this was going to go and what it was going to look like. That was kind of fun for me. That made it a little bit easier for me. And I just think these felt dies are so fun. So I'm going to go a little bit quicker here, just, filling in all the gaps, making sure our sunflower is nicely sewn down. This is kind of a fun autumn pillow. It's not fully fall. I looked up, online, like what other flowers kind of bloom around the same time sunflowers do. And there's some daisies, some later blooming daisies. So I'm going to make some little white daisies. I'm going to use the white flowers from the felt cheeky apple dye, and then their little centers are yellow. I'm using the same yellow on that lighter color of sunflower that I used. So we're going to be adding some of those. I'm just going to do a little cross stitch, little X stitch in the center just to tack down my white flowers. I'm using 4 of those, and I'm just going to quickly tack those down. I am using floss, and I'm just using the same brown that I used to stitch my sunflowers. I'm using 3 strands of that for all of my little images here. And I'm just tying my knot underneath. I mean, I don't know if that's correct or not. See, these are the kind of things I need little tips on. But I mean, I don't know how else you're supposed to do it if you don't tie a knot. But maybe I'm wrong. So let's get these last 2 tacked down. All the finishing is going to be done after I've completely put my pillow together. I am going to use some fun rickrack around the outside. I did want to sew that on, but I opted not to this time. It felt a little bit complicated, so I think I'm going to practice that with like some real cheap rickrack, not the stuff that I bought at Primrose Cottage, but it's really pretty. And we'll talk about that when we get to that, but yeah. So let me finish here. Okay, so now we're going to sew on our little leaves. These are from the felt cheeky apple dye. Oh no, I'm lying. This is from another one of Nicole Spore's felt dyes, and I don't remember the name right now, you guys, but I do have everything listed and linked in the description for you. I'm so sorry, but I just pulled out some leaves from that. It may have been a Christmas one. I don't remember. But like I said, I will list and link that for you guys down below. Just a few quick stitches because it's just tiny small leaves. And so I'm going to do that for all of my little, I'm going to call them daisies because that's what they are to me right now. And so really super cute. I opted to use the same green for all of the leaves. I wanted to use 2 different greens, but the felt that I have quite a few greens. It just did not look good with the tones of the fabrics that I'm using. They were too bright or too springy, and so I just used the same green for all of the leaves. I'm going to get this last guy stitched. And so when I was sewing, because I've been watching lots of tutorials, I did a 1/4 inch seam. Well, first I'm going to iron on, and you guys are going to crack up at my dinosaur of an iron. I've just had this iron forever. You know what I mean? Like, and most of the time you don't need to iron your clothes. It's pretty rare because most clothes anymore don't really wrinkle. So yeah, I've had this forever. Doesn't it look so funny? Anyway, so I'm ironing on this lightweight interfacing to the back of the front of my fabric and also the back of my fabric for the back of my pillow. The back, I'm using that same kind of mustardy color. That's going to be for the back as well. And I know you can iron wool, but I don't know if I could, run my iron across it. So, and I know with interfacing, you probably should. So I was just pressing down, trying to get everywhere really, really good. And I think I got it here. And don't come at me. I realized I forgot to iron this fabric, my back fabric, before I put the interfacing on. I guess, but I ironed it anyways, but I know you're supposed to iron all your stuff and I just forgot. I do know, however, that the rough side of the interfacing goes to the wrong side of the fabric when you're ironing it down. That part I do know. Okay, so I have my back and front. I think I have it sewn here. Yeah. Oh, yes. No, I don't have it sewn. I'm going to use my little Wonder Clips. What I did, though, is I felt on the back of my fabric where my images were, and then I took my measurement 3/4 of an inch out from there, and that's where I'm going to stitch on my fabric. So that created my stitch line, if that makes sense. And I'm just using those heat erase pens on here. So again, excuse me, I felt where my felt images were, and then measured out 3/4 of an inch from there. So now I've sewn it, and I am going to grab the back of my fabric and lift that off from the front of my fabric, and we're going to cut a hole in the back. I've watched a lot of ladies do this so we can stuff the pillow, which makes me really happy that I don't have to try to hand stitch something closed nicely, because I am just not there yet. You know what I mean? So again, making sure that the front is from the back, because I don't want to cut into my front. That would be a nightmare. I'd probably cry. And I was successful, so I'm just going to make a little slit. I thought I was centered. I was not, but whatever. We're going to make the back cute anyways. And then I'm going to cut this little slit in here so I can turn this out, and then I can stuff it. And then I remembered, I got to cut my corners, making sure I don't cut my seams. Again, this is not a tutorial. This is more of a show and tell because I actually did it. And it was a success, and I'm very excited. Not that I don't think that I'm capable. I know that I'm capable of it. But I just have this mental block about sewing machines and sewing, and it just seems so difficult, probably because I struggle with measuring, and it's just not something I do in card making unless I absolutely have to. It's just one of my things that's just, I feel like I'm not good at, but I'm very, very happy with how this turned out. I'm using my bone folder and gently pushing out my corners. But look, we have a pillow. How awesome is that? And I did iron it. And then now I'm going to use my, the polyfill, the fiber polyfill. I think that's what it's called. Fiberfill, something like that. And I'm lofting it before I put it in, and I'm putting it into my corners first to get those nice and filled up. And I want my pillow to be pretty firm, so I am stuffing this. Now, when I was done with this, I realized when I watched Lindsay on Primrose Cottage make her pillows, she fills them with those little pellets, and then she does the fiber fill afterwards in the back. And I get it now why, because it makes your pillows stand up, which I heard her say, but I was also learning a lot of things, so it didn't stick in my brain. So I think I'm going to get some of that for my next pillows. That way this will sit up on its own. This will lean, because this is not going to go on your couch or anything. This is going to be, part of your decoration or whatever. But then it'll just kind of sit on its own. And so I think that's something I'm going to grab and do next time. But anyways, I feel like I stuffed it well. I've watched Nicole Spohr stuff her pillows. I've watched Primrose Cottage. I've watched some other people. I've been watching lots of sewing tutorial things. So I, can get some knowledge about it. And I feel like I stuffed it really good. Like I think it turned out really, really nice. And so I stuffed way more than I thought I was going to. And I was kind of trying to go around evenly, you know, pushing down, feeling, kind of looking at my edges and my corners and making sure. I feel like putting it in the corners first helps to get a really nice shaped pillow. That's what it seems like to me, even though I've never done it before, but that's what it seemed like. So just using my fingers, getting everything moved around, pressing down, feeling it, because I kind of want a more firm pillow. I don't want a really soft pillow. And then I'm just getting a few little more pieces and shoving them in where I think they need to go. And then we're going to do some finishing details on this, kind of like a card, which I had a lot of fun with. I believe this is called a ladder stitch that I am doing to close up the back, but we're going to cover with a piece of felt back here. And I think I need to get some of those. I think they're called pinking shears that make that nice little edge on your fabric. I need some of those because I think it makes a great decorative edge, because we're going to put I think I just said, put a piece of felt over the top of this, and that would be really cute to have that kind of edge and look cute. This is where I was like, I don't know how to close this. So I added one more stitch. I'm going to make a knot. I mean, you're not going to see it anyways. I have seen where people then stick your needle through and come out farther away so you don't have your little inseam. So I don't know if that's correct, but that's what I did. I am going to hide my little knot for stitching on. I'm using just some white floss for stitching on my piece of felt. This is from the Felt Pod. I think that's the name of the online store that I got this from. I don't know what color this is because it's not labeled on the bags, but it's kind of aquamarine color that I'm going to put on the back here. And I'm just going to go around and just do that running stitch really quick and stitch this down, and we'll add something to this when we are doing all of the finishing details to this pillow. But look, we have a pillow. It's so exciting, you guys. So probably on my channel, we're going to be adding some more stitching, sewing type things. I mean, I've done, you know, felt things before on here. You know, this is mainly card making, but I think I will have some of that stuff on here because this is way a lot of fun. Okay, so for those dies, for the felt sunflower bloom dies, you have this centerpiece, and it folds in half and it has all these little lines die cut in it. What I'm going to do is add some hot glue to the ends because I don't want to have to deal with trying to keep it in a nice fold while I'm rolling it up, if that makes sense. So then I'm going to take one of the corners and I'm going to start rolling it inwards. I have the cut area open at the top. And so this is going to create this really gorgeous 3D fun center to our sunflowers. Now the die, I believe I think it says die cut twice on here, and then you can add another layer to the outside of this. I'm just doing the one because I actually like seeing the stitched edge that we stitched down. But if you don't want to see that, and if you want this center to be bigger, die cut a second one of these and add it to the outside. Just roll it around. And then I'm adding some liquid glue to the center, and I'm really going to give this a nice good press down. That way that liquid or that hot glue can cool down and stick. Then I have my lighter color. This felt was the Latte. The other one was the chocolate chip. This is going to go for our lighter color sunflower. So again, I'm gluing those edges together. I'm going to glue the second one. That way it makes it easier to roll up. You don't have to do that. I would suggest probably starting with one side glue, that you're going to start rolling in, but you don't have to glue the outside first. But that to me just made it seem a bit easier. So I'm going to roll. I'm keeping my fingers on the top and bottom so that way the top doesn't want to, or the center doesn't want to come out taller than the outside. Adding a little bit of glue, and then holding that down for a second, and then I'm going to add glue to the bottom. And those little tiny daisy flowers, as what I'm calling them, has the same kind of die cut center. And again, those are from the Felt Cheeky Apple die. And I'm going to be making something with that Felt Cheeky Apple die. I've got a couple ideas in my mind. So I'm I'm going to do the same thing, add a little bit of the hot glue. And then this one will roll up really, really fast. And then I can grab that end. Again, the little die cut slices in the top will be at the top when you're rolling. And then a tiny bit of that hot glue. Pinch that closed, and then let's add some to the bottom, and then we can adhere that. Look at how cute these sunflowers are. This is such a cute die. I love these felt dies. They are so darling. Okay, so now I have my rickrack, and like I mentioned, I was too scared to sew it in. I just did not feel comfortable doing that yet. So I'm right now, for the purpose of this video, I'm going to use hot glue, but later off camera, I'm just going to do some stitching around just to hold it onto the pillow. This is Lady Creates vintage 1/2-inch rickrack, and I got this from Primrose Cottage as well. They just have this. The store is so cute, you guys. The shop is so, so cute. All the inspiration for cross stitching, and oh, so, so cute. So I bought a really cute cross stitch pattern, which I'll be sharing. I almost have one of them done. It's like a 12-month mini little things. Oh, they're so cute. Okay, so when I'm adding my hot glue, I'm just adding the tiniest bit because I don't want it squishing out. I don't want to see hot glue on my pillow. So it's just a little bit. I'm just going to go a little bit at a time, really making sure it's good around the corners. And I'm going to speed this up so we don't have to sit here for forever. But I like this rickrack. Like, it's really pretty. It's you know, vintage looking, so it looks like they dyed it some, but it's not perfect. You know, it's got this kind of mottled color on it. I think that's what you would call it, or variation of color. And it's really pretty. I loved it. I think it went perfectly with this. And so when I come back around, I started at the bottom center because I think that's easier from what I've heard than to try at a corner and try to cover up the corner when you have the two ends meet. So I started at the bottom center, and then when I come back around, I will just cut my piece to overlap slightly. So when I started gluing down at the bottom center, I left a little tail that wasn't glued down yet. That way, if I needed to trim or whatever, I had that area. And I do have to say, it lined up really nicely. I was thankful. I didn't know how that was going to go, but it did line up super, super nice. So we're going to come around to that edge. I really did fairly well to not get my hand in the glue. Again, I don't have a ton of hot glue on here either. So that's another reason to stitch it on. But okay, so I'm going to add some glue up to that edge, and then I can decide where I want to trim that. So then I can come in with that glue. I'm going to put it under the edge that I left unglued on the right, and then bring this over. I think I had to pull the rickrack over just the tiniest bit to get it lined up. And then I can add a little more glue, and then I'm going to trim off that little end there. But it lines up great, like you'd never know. Cute, cute. I think that rickrack really finished the edge nicely. Okay, then I have this mini charm pack. This is Ghostly Greetings by Deb Strain, and I just think these little mini charm packs are so, so darling. But I needed a fall, and there was no fall mini charm packs at Primrose Cottage at the shop. So, but I did find this fall piece in there. And then I am using Lawn Fawn's Smitty's ABCs, and we're going to stamp onto the fabric with Archival Jet Black ink from Ranger a little, I'm going to call it a sentiment because I'm a card maker, that says 25 cents. So I'm going to stamp it on the fabric, and then I'm going to go sew around this edge with just some white thread. And then I pulled the edges to let it fray a little bit. I trimmed it down and pulled the edges to let it fray. Then I'm using Idea-ology's and Tim Holtz loop pins to adhere this down to my pillow. And I just love this little detail. I think it turned out so cute to have this little sign or sentiment on here. And that's what's going to hold that in place. I just think it's a little fun addition. It makes this playful, and I think it's so cute. Then I have these wooden hearts that Honeybee Stamps sadly no longer carries, but they're in my stash and I just have to use them. And I'm going to hot glue those down to my pillow here. And this is going to be really our finishing touch on here. So I'm going to add, they have different sizes and I love that. I'm going to add these different sizes to the centers of the large sunflowers. I added a couple to that little, I have to call it a sentiment because I think that's what it is. But this was fun. Again, this felt like the card making, adding all the little extra things to it. And I love that. But if you don't have wooden hearts or something, you could get some cute little heart buttons, something like that, and you can adhere them on in the exact same way. And I think it would be darling. So let's get those glued down. I try to keep those little, hot glue strands off of the pillow as much as possible before I get it to the pillow. But it was so cute. It's so cute. Okay, let's take a look at this up close. Oh, no, we got to put the back on. Here is I'm going to add some of those hearts to our little back piece here. And I did not sew it on straight. I mean, not that it's the end of the world. I mean, it's kind of, it's handmade. It's just like cards. Not everything is going to be perfect. Okay, now let's take a look at this. So super cute. Oh my gosh, I love it. I think it's such a success. Let me know in the comments below if you guys have ever stitched a pillow. If you're a sewer, definitely leave me your tips and tricks. I definitely need it. And thank you guys so very much for stopping by and watching. I hope that you enjoyed this project and stay tuned for another video.